The crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow across the ballroom as Charlotte stood frozen near the entrance. Her pale blue gown seemed to shimmer in the light, though her hands trembled slightly at her sides. She was 48 now, and the years had taught her many things. But standing here tonight, facing her past, felt like the hardest lesson yet. Across the room, she spotted him immediately. Marcus, her ex-husband. He stood with his new wife, a woman 20 years younger, draped in diamonds that caught the light with every movement. Charlotte remembered when those promises had been hers, when she had believed in forever. The charity gala was supposed to be her fresh start. After the divorce 2 years ago, she had lost almost everything. The settlement had been cruel, the legal fees devastating. She worked now as an event coordinator, barely making ends meet, but she had been determined to attend tonight. This was her industry, her world, and she refused to hide. But seeing Marcus here, watching him laugh as if their 23 years together had meant nothing, made her heart ache in ways she thought she had overcome. She turned to leave, her eyes stinging with tears she refused to shed when she collided with someone. Strong hands steadied her, and she looked up into the kindest eyes she had ever seen. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, stepping back quickly. The man before her was perhaps in his early 50s, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples. His tailored suit spoke of wealth, but there was something gentle in his expression, something that made her pause. "No harm done," he said softly, his voice carrying a warmth that seemed genuine. "Are you all right? You seem upset." Charlotte tried to smile, but her composure was cracking. Marcus had just noticed her. She could see him whispering to his wife, pointing in her direction. The humiliation was about to begin, just as it had at every social gathering since the divorce. Marcus was walking toward her now, that familiar smirk on his face. The man beside her seemed to sense her distress. "Please," Charlotte heard herself say, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. She looked up at the stranger, desperation in her eyes. "Act like you love me, please." She saw the confusion flicker across his face, but Marcus was almost upon them now. Without thinking, she reached for the stranger's hand. "There you are, darling," the man said smoothly, surprising her. He squeezed her hand gently, a reassuring pressure. "I was looking for you." Marcus stopped short, his expression shifting from smugness to uncertainty. "Charlotte," he said, his voice cool, "I didn't expect to see you here. Can you even afford the ticket price?" The cruelty in his words landed like a physical blow, but before Charlotte could respond, the stranger spoke. "Marcus Anderson, isn't it?" His voice was calm, almost pleasant, but there was steel beneath it. "I'm Daniel Morrison. I believe our companies have had some dealings in the past." Charlotte felt Marcus stiffen beside her. Morrison. She knew that name. Everyone in the city knew that name. Daniel Morrison was a legend in real estate development, a self-made millionaire who had built an empire on integrity and innovation. "Mr. Morrison," Marcus said, his tone suddenly deferential. "I didn't realize you and Charlotte were acquainted." Daniel's arm moved around Charlotte's waist, steady and protective. "More than acquainted," he said quietly. "Charlotte is very special to me." The ballroom seemed to spin. Charlotte couldn't believe what was happening. This man, this complete stranger, was standing beside her, shielding her from Marcus's cruelty. Marcus's new wife joined them, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. "Darling, who are these people?" she asked, her voice sharp. "This is my ex-wife," Marcus said tightly, "and apparently she's managed to do quite well for herself." The bitterness in his voice was palpable, and Charlotte suddenly understood something she had never seen before. Marcus hadn't just left her for someone younger. He had left her because he wanted to feel powerful, superior. Her struggles after the divorce had probably pleased him, but here, now with Daniel Morrison's arm around her, Marcus looked small. "If you'll excuse us," Daniel said politely. "Charlotte and I were just heading to our table." He guided her away gently, his hand steady on her back. Charlotte's heart was racing, her mind reeling. When they were out of earshot, she stopped and pulled away, looking up at him with tears in her eyes. "Why did you do that?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." Daniel's expression was thoughtful, compassionate. I know what it's like to be humiliated by someone who once promised to love you, he said quietly. My wife left me 5 years ago, took half of everything and told me I was too boring, too focused on work. She said I would never understand passion. Charlotte saw the pain in his eyes, the vulnerability of someone who had also been broken and rebuilt. I watched you standing there, he continued, and I saw myself 10 years ago at a different party, trying to hold my head up while everyone whispered. Someone helped me that night. A stranger who pretended to be an old friend who stood beside me until I could breathe again. I told myself if I ever had the chance to do the same for someone else, I would. They stood there in the golden light, two people who had survived heartbreak, who understood the weight of loss and the courage it took to keep going. Thank you, Charlotte said, her voice breaking. You have no idea what that meant to me. Daniel smiled and it transformed his face. Would you like to get some coffee? There's a quiet cafe a block from here. We could escape this circus and you could tell me your story. If you'd like. Charlotte hesitated, then nodded. For the first time in 2 years, she felt something other than pain. She felt hope. As they left the ballroom together, Marcus watched from across the room, his expression dark. But Charlotte didn't look back. She had spent too many years looking back, trying to understand what she had done wrong. Tonight, she was moving forward. The cafe was small and warm, filled with the rich aroma of coffee and old books. They talked for hours, sharing stories of marriage and loss, of rebuilding and learning to trust again. Daniel spoke of his grown children, of the loneliness that had followed his divorce. Charlotte told him about her work, her small apartment, the pride she took in standing on her own 2 feet. You're remarkable, Daniel said as the night grew late. Truly, Charlotte felt herself blushing like a teenager. I'm just doing what anyone would do, surviving. No, he said firmly. You're doing more than surviving. You're living with grace and dignity. That's rare. When they finally parted that night, Daniel asked for her number. I'd like to see you again, he said. If you're willing. No pretense this time. Just 2 people who understand each other, sharing a meal and conversation. Charlotte smiled, genuinely smiled for the first time in months. I'd like that very much. As she rode home in the taxi, she realized something profound. Kindness still existed in the world. Grace could still be found. And sometimes in our darkest moments, strangers became the angels we needed most. Did this story touch your heart? Please like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales of kindness and second chances. Leave a comment below and tell us about a time when a stranger's kindness changed your day. Your story might inspire someone who needs hope today.